up, everybody? It's your boy the Kryptonian saying here, bringing you a review for One Piece chapter 615. And this chapter, gotta say, man, I'm once again impressed by the world building that Oda is kind of giving us in this chapter. One of the things that we're getting is we're learning more about how Decken has his whole Mark fruit, and we're learning that basically he might have been behind the assassination that took place with this Otohime that is at the grave. I think that is the fishman that might have died during the whole human rebellion, or not human rebellion, but when there was like the incident and everything, and the humans didn't give the blood to the fishman. And what I find interesting is when Hody is explaining how he has the Mark fruit and how it follows whoever he lays a target on by touching them with his palm, which is pretty disgusting, by the way. The fact that he hadn't washed his hand for 10 years after touching the princess makes me wonder, you know, what he didn't wash his hand for. But here's the other thing, though, right? Like, when you look at that and then you look at the other clues that we get on the fact that there was an assassination in broad daylight and nobody knows who did it, it was Decken. So Oda's definitely setting this up, and it, in a way, kind of feels like the whole JFK thing, because that was something done and nobody knew how the hell it was going on. You have all these conspiracy theories that the CIA really did it and they assassinated him and all this crazy shit. And it's because it was something so unimaginable and something that shouldn't have been able to happen, yet it did. And I'm thinking it's the same thing here, that nobody thought that this would actually take place. So I thought that that was pretty cool, how that was kind of snuck in there. And I do like the fact that when the chapter opens up, we see Luffy and he's got the princess there in that whale or that shark, and they're like, oh my god, the princess has been kidnapped. And right away they turn to Brook. And what I love about this is you're actually seeing the Straw Hat Pirates being viewed as pirates, right? And, you know, part of it is because Zoro kind of took charge and said, yeah, we're going to take them hostage and we're going to be holding them for ransom, right? But at the same time, what's really kind of striking me when it comes to this is the difference between Luffy and Zoro. And it's something I've told you guys that I was kind of paying attention to, I want to say back in Enies Lobby, somewhere around there, where, no, not Enies Lobby, it was Skypiea. Not Skypiea, fuck, I'm getting them mixed up. It's not Enies Lobby, Water 7, when Usopp and Luffy were fighting. And after the fact, Luffy looked like he was kind of doubting himself a little bit. And not so much doubting, but he was kind of torn at the decision. And Zoro says, hey, you're the captain. If you don't show conviction, we can't really follow you. And since then, there's been little small things that have kind of taken place that make me go, what the hell? There's an underlying tension being built up. And it's the same thing when I was reading the Usopp stuff, that I was like, well, when's Luffy going to address this? This can be a problem. And so when you look at Zoro, on one hand, it's really easy to dismiss the fact that Zoro is the meathead of the crew, right? And so he doesn't really think. He just kind of does what he does when it happens. But taking people prisoner isn't something that Luffy would have did. That isn't something Luffy would have did. And so it's just Oda's kind of putting in a very subtle way in your face the difference between the two. Zoro making that call is the call that a captain makes. The same way Usopp used to say, I'm Captain Usopp, and he would try and press his authority in very subtle ways to kind of challenge Luffy, and Luffy finally shut that shit down. So what I'm thinking here is maybe Oda is planting more seeds, and if it's like the Usopp stuff, it's going to take hundreds of chapters to unfold. But the other thing with this is again, just the difference. Luffy is about the adventure. Zoro is about the means to the end. It's about being in the moment and seizing the moment to get to where you need to go. And with Luffy, when he's looking at the adventure, he's like, man, you're pretty weird. You hadn't been out for 10 years and you feel like you did something bad. Now, she would have said, we got to be back for dinner. Luffy would have got it right back there. So I do like that little humor that's there. But one of the interesting things is when you look at it, Luffy says, well, if you're excited, then it's an adventure. And it just shows you kind of where his heart is. Because at the end of the day, he's a pretty good person. He's a pretty good person. This is somebody who hasn't been out, hasn't really experienced life, and life is the best teacher. And I think in a way that's something that Garp taught Luffy when Garp, kind of brought Luffy in. That's something Ace taught Luffy, and that's something that Rayleigh taught him. And so Luffy in a way is kind of passing the same thing through. And I'm also getting Alabasta vibes too, like the journey leading up to Alabasta, because Vivi learned a lot from Luffy. As much as Luffy learned from Vivi, the small stuff about being a leader, like when they got to, I think it was Drum Island, and Luffy had been shot, and Vivi had been shot, and Luffy's about to rage, and Vivi kind of makes him bow down, and that's basically telling him, okay, you're captain, your crew's fate depends on you. Sometimes you gotta swallow your pride in order to get forward. Sometimes you gotta swallow your pride in order to ensure that your crew is safe. And so, in the same way, Luffy taught Vivi a little bit about living, and now he's doing it with another princess. So I thought that, again, that was also something that was pretty interesting, pretty cool. And even with Boa Hancock, I mean, he got her to live a little bit on the dangerous side. So I mean, this is interesting. I like this. I like what Oda's doing with these interactions. And while simultaneously he is kind of building up towards this insurrection, I like how when Hachi shows up, Hachi tries to put an end to it, and you're seeing his character arc come to a full circle now. And he's come face to face with the skeletons in his closet, face to face with the dark part of Arlong's stuff. And I thought maybe that would have been wrapped up when he had that little conversation with Nami, when I think it was Duval, when they had that whole thing going on. And after the fact, he was, making the octopus fritters for the Straw Hats, and he was making the conversation with Nami. I thought that door was closed, but turns out Hody Jones and Vanderdecker, they have a connection with Arlong. And what's really interesting about this is, even though Hachi's banged up, he tries to do the noble thing, and he makes a mistake of saying, hey, Straw Hat's my friend, so, like the shonen shit. But I like how when Vanderdecker sees it, he's like, oh, okay, well, pirates, we handle our stuff in blood, our disputes, and doesn't even hesitate. Touches him, the Mark fruit takes place, he gets stabbed, these arrows start shooting out at him, Hachi's fleeing for his life, and I just love how we're seeing, even with the Fishman pirates and everything, how with Arlong's crew, you're seeing the kind of pushback against the old generation. It's that shonen trope, but Oda took it to another level. He said, okay, next generation passes the one before it, but at the same time, we're going to have this generation be a little bit more disrespectful. And that's more in line with how things are in real life. Like a lot of people look at, us millennials and say they don't get it, they're checked out, and they're entitled, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They want participation trophies. And yet at the same time, it's like, oh, we want participation trophies. What generation was handing out the fucking trophies? Oh, it was your generation. And so when you say shit like that, you might be factually correct, like how Duval is. But, not Duval, but how Vanderdecker is and Hody Jones is. But, at the same time, phrasing it the way she did is disrespectful. So I thought that was pretty interesting how Oda kind of sprinkled those little tidbits in there. And it goes back to what I've said. I've been very impressed with the way that he handles character interactions and psychology amongst the characters. I really enjoyed it. It's showing a great grasp of understanding on the human psyche. So with that being said, I'm going to end the review talking about Sanji, right? And I like the fact how Sanji, he was dead set on seeing the princess, right? And he's like, shit, I was trying to make a move on princess, man. Now I had to whoop all these soldiers' asses. Now my suit's fucked up. I can't say nothing. Oh shit, it's a woman. I like how Sanji just has the attention span of a woman, man. Like that perverted gag of his is, I love it. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it, man. So with that being said, my chapter question for you guys is, what were your thoughts about Hody Jones telling the human members of his crew that human lives mean nothing, and that they're expendable, and if they live, they can go through with the rebellion, and if they succeed, he'll set them free? How do you feel about that? Because we're going back to the ideology of Arlong. We're going back to that. And I think it's, again, that whole thing Oda Maybe Oda planned to try and tackle racism a little bit in Arlong Park, but now he's fully going into it. So, do you think this was a smart decision? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Have an awesome day.